Hello and welcome to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show. Today is a very exciting day. I actually have a big show with a lot of women with a lot of testimonies and stories based on the book, the anthology, Women of Faith. This is a brainchild of Rhonda Branch, who is the owner of my publishing, and by publishing, I should say. And she's brought all these women together in an anthology that shares their story, and it's really unbelievable when you hear some of the stories that are actually in this book. So this entire show is dedicated to the women of faith, and we certainly thank Ms. Branch for making this happen and giving them a platform to share their stories and their testimonies of overcoming. So we're really excited about it. And my first guest is none other than Miss Diane McPherson. Diane, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here, and you are actually a second-time guest.
Yes, I am.
So I guess I wasn't too bad the first time around. You came back a second time.
No, you're good. You're good at what you do.
Oh, man, thank you so much. Diane, you have a story, of course, like the rest of the women of faith that are in the book. Just briefly tell me a little bit about your story, because our time is very limited today. So share a little bit of your story and your testimony and how you got where you are today.
Okay, just the testimony in this particular book is Free Falling by Faith, and it's basically a woman who has a life of faith. I just believe that my life is a full testament of a faith journey. And Free Falling by Faith came about because about a year or so ago, my children and I became homeless. And in those 4 months of transitioning, God reminded me that He is still faithful. And no matter where He puts you, no matter where you are, no matter what your circumstances are, you can free fall in Him. And so learning to free fall by faith means you have to let go, surrender, and turn everything over to Him, no matter what comes up against you. Mm-hmm. Ridicule, strife, anything.
Mm-hmm. And you know, when you say free fall of faith, that really speaks volumes in itself. Free fall of faith, that is truly when you're letting go and letting God. We've oftentimes heard that saying, let go and let God, but you're saying to literally let go and let God. And a lot of times we're placed in situations and circumstances in our lives that forces us to let go and let God, because there are situations and circumstances that we can't handle, that we can't fix, that we can't change, and only God can do it. A lot of times our test becomes, our testimony, and we end up sharing those stories and all this good stuff, which is what you're doing today. Now, when you said it was free falling by faith, what was some of the falling like for you?
The falling for me was actually just losing control of who you thought you were. Actually just taking the reins off. I say that I was one that was afraid of heights, and so to even think about falling without having something to catch you. But then through the process, God reminded me, if you would just let go and fall, I'm going to be there to pick you up. And so just yesterday, in a lesson that I taught on yesterday, I talked about how God created us out of dust, and out of that He breathed life into us in our nostrils. He gave us His life. He gave us His breath. And so breathing into me gave me a new opportunity to breathe again. And so when you're free falling, you're actually just letting go, and you're releasing everything. And just free falling in Him, knowing that He's going to be there to catch you. You don't have to worry about man. You don't have to worry about woman. You don't have to worry about anybody. Just trust God, because He's there.
God. All right. Yeah, I certainly agree. Now, I want to ask you, how did you actually get involved in this book, Women of Faith? How did you actually get involved in the book?
Actually, I met Rhonda back in 2013 when my first book came out, Touched But Not Healed. I was introduced to her by you. Great connection. And when she was putting this book together, this anthology, she called me and said, I want you to be a part of the book. And so at the time I was like, I have this going on, I have that going on, and she said, it doesn't matter. She said, I want you to be a part of it. And so she started telling me about the other women and sharing a little bit of their stories, and I was like, this is a great opportunity to connect, because my ministry is women. And so it's like, this will be a great opportunity, because you have to show the world that women can stand together. by faith.
All right. All right. And not only women, but sisters, you know.
Exactly.
And we say women of faith, but a lot of times the women of faith become sisters in faith. And I'm sure you guys get to share stories with each other and strengthen each other in the process of what you're doing and what you've done and what you've been through. And I know that it's probably not a surprise sometimes when you find out that there are other people who have experienced the same thing that you've experienced and far worse than what you have experienced and overcome. So it's always a blessing when you're able to share your testimony, tell your story, and bless somebody through that.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah. And now you mentioned another book, not just Women of Faith, but Women of Faith prayer book. Tell me a little bit more about the conception of this book.
It's the prayers of faith, and Rhonda had an idea for some of the women who wanted to be a part of the prayers of faith book, just to give women or men, anybody who reads the prayers, to know that they can be encouraged by what we have said through our prayers on their behalf. So
Okay.
it's a compilation of different prayers from some of the co-authors that wanted to just share, wanted to intercede for people.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because a lot of times people want to pray, but there are people that don't know how to pray. Or you'll think about it, but you don't know how to pray. So when you can have a guideline, so to speak, or a foundation from which to start, then you can build on that foundation. And obviously that's what this book is about, people building on the foundation of prayer. And I love the fact that the women of faith are so transparent. That's what I've learned. They're very transparent, and you're transparent because you want to bless somebody and make a difference. You know, I always say each one reach one. You know, and a lot of times if you're able to tell your story, then it sets other people free. When you are free enough within yourself to share your story.
That's right.
And it takes a lot of power, a lot of strength to make that happen. And obviously you're doing that. Now, Diane, tell me, what's next for you?
What's next for me? Yesterday I found myself in a place to where I actually said those very words, that I am free.
Okay.
I'm free, because if God is breathing breath into me and it's His breath, then why am I allowing myself not to be free? And so that's the place where I am now. I'm free from everything. I'm not bringing anything of the past into my present, and I'm definitely not taking it into my future. And so now I'm working on other projects. I have a book that's coming out May 6th, just in time for Mother's Day. Prayers to Mama. It is Love, Honor, and Obey. And it's my tribute to my mother, who passed away in 2010. It's my love letter to her, my devotion to her. And I put it together because I wanted to encourage other daughters who have lost their mothers, and you know, children who have lost mothers, so they can read it, be encouraged. They have a journal on the inside that will just, you know, encourage them to move forward. Yeah.
You know, that's what it's about, encouraging others along the journey. And I just happen to know your mother, who your mother was, Aunt Sarah, a beautiful woman, sweet woman, strong black woman, and I know how she raised you. And all that. Every now and then you slip the other way. But no. But yeah, sweet woman, amazing woman who raised you, Aunt Sarah. Diane, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
And a little bit more about absolutely. Now, is there anything else that you want the world to know about Diane McPherson before we end this segment?
I want the world to know that God has put me in a position to be a change agent. And so I don't take it lightly. I'm so empowered by just being a part of this project and others to come. I'm looking forward to the journey that He has for me over the next year. You'll see some new things developing, but I'll keep my mouth shut and I'll share that with just God for now. But just be on the lookout. God is doing some great things in my life and those that are connected to me.
All right, there it is. All right, now you guys stick around. We're going to be back with more Women of Faith in just a moment. We'll be back in just a moment.
Women invest a lot of valuable time in their stylish chair, creating and maintaining a polished image. Having been in the beauty industry for over 35 years, I have witnessed this investment firsthand.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jackson, and I'm the owner of Interactive Hair Studio. I love doing hair. I love being creative. I love giving someone options.
Through the years, I began to notice how much time was being spent threading needles during the weaving process. In salons everywhere, clients were threading needles for their stylists to save time instead of relaxing and enjoying the experience.
We had to use towels, and sometimes mannequin heads, or oftentimes your own clothes, where you thread a lot of needles and you just have them ready so you can move faster.
I knew that this was not the kind of experience that I wanted to provide for my clients, so I created a better way. The Easy Needle Multi-Threader is designed to make the weave installation process faster and easier, all in 5 simple steps. All you have to do is secure the Easy Needle Multi-Threader to a surface, insert the cushions into the unit, slide the needles into the cushions, place your thread onto the dowel, and thread your needles with the Easy Needle Threader. Stylists who use this product will never have to thread another needle in between weaving again. With the Easy Needle Multi-Threader, they can save time, save money, increase their clientele, and provide a wonderful experience for their clients.
All right, as promised, we're back with another guest from the Women of Faith Anthology. Clara Peters, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Now, you're a part of the Women of Faith Anthology as well, along with many other beautiful women that are here in the studio today. I want to know a lot about you. Now, I know that you're the founder of the Women of Divine Distinction Ministry.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're also a blog show, radio show host, life coach, mentor, got a book club.
Yes.
The list was too long. I was getting tired of reading. We just gonna talk. But you're a part of the anthology as well. Now, tell me a little bit about, because I know it's filled with wonderful testimonies like the one that we just heard of Diane McPherson as well. And yourself, what is it that brought you into the Women of Faith Anthology book?
My testimony comes from being abused for almost 2 decades. So that's how I became a part of it.
From being abused for nearly 2 decades?
For nearly 2 decades, yes.
Okay.
So when Rhonda put it out there in reference to, women being a part of it, we connected and we talked for a while, and she was like, I was like, no, I'll catch you on the next one. And she was like, no, you got to be in this one.
Okay.
So here I am with the Women of Faith.
And you're obviously a survivor because you're here.
Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm.
It was rough, but to God be the glory.
Yeah. I want you to tell me a little bit about what that experience was like for you. You say almost 2 decades of being physically abused. And now, was this by your husband?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yes, it was by my husband. It was right at 16 years, to be exact.
Okay.
I didn't think that when I got with him that would be a case for me. But when we moved here from Louisiana, after about a couple of years, I guess we were settled here. I'm away from home. So, that's when it started.
Okay.
But I kept quiet about it for my own selfish reason. And as time went on, it got worse. But right when I was trying to plan to get out of it, that's when it, I ended up pregnant. So I was like, okay, well, let me
stay there a little bit longer.
So I stayed a little bit longer. So I sacrificed me for the children. But the abuse it just got too overwhelming. He kept asking me to stay, but he never wanted to change.
Okay.
So I thought that he would change, but then God was like, I've given you your signs. I showed you what you need to do.
Right.
So it's in your court now. The ball is in your court. So I need you to decide what you want to do. And I'm like, okay, it's time for me to just say,
you gotta make that move.
I have to go. I had to save me. I've always wanted my children to grow up in the same household with their father, but that's what I came from.
And I think a lot of women hold on to that.
Yes.
They hold on to that hope that my children can be raised in a 2-parent household and different things like that. And you don't want to separate the kids from the dad and all that stuff. And you end up staying there in that situation that's actually killing you.
Right.
And I also think that oftentimes women become very fearful of their husbands or their spouses or their significant others when they're going through an abusive situation like that. So I'm sure you probably felt the same type of thing as you were living that out.
I did. especially since I didn't have anyone here and I didn't tell anyone. You know, it was a couple people that did know, and really a stranger recognized it, and she became a friend. We're still friends to this day, and it's been like 29 years that she and I have been friends. We're really 30. Yeah. And through her still being there for me and what have you, I grabbed some strength from her, and then I was like, you know what? It's all about me. I need to take my life back, because it's not about the children. It's about me.
Yeah.
And that's what women have to realize. It was you and him before it was you, him, and the children. So this relationship and what's going on has nothing to do with the children. It has to do with you two. So I had to take matters into my own life. I didn't know anything about Clara. So God showed me, he said, if you follow my instructions, then I take you back. So he took me back to my teenage years where I could find out who I was. I had to remove several masks, but in the removing of those masks, he birthed the ministry.
Yeah.
He birthed the book club.
Okay.
And he did birth a whole lot. And he's steady birthing. And it's all because of what I went through.
Yeah.
Being beaten at 2 o'clock in the morning, put out on Gulf Freeway, left there, you know. So he was drunk and driving with my 3 babies in the car, and I'm like, oh, do I lay here and die, or do I get up and run this race and get to my babies? And the babies outweighed it.
Yeah.
So I was like, but if it was up to me, I would have been out.
Yeah.
I would have just said, you know, but I had to think about them. I'm like, they don't deserve this.
Yeah.
So I grabbed my strength and I got up, and then as a few years went by, I was like, okay, it's time to say bye.
And you made up your mind. So what was the final straw for you? What was it that made you say, enough is enough, I'm out of here? What was that thing?
The thing that said it all for me was, I hate saying this now, but my dad was crushed in an 18-wheeler accident. He didn't die.
Okay.
But me and the kids got ready to make that trip to Louisiana. And my son asked his dad, and he was like 8 then, I think. And he was like, so you're not coming? He was like, no, I'm probably going to have to come this weekend to bring y'all some clothes for the funeral. And I looked at him. Can't say what I said, because it wasn't good.
It wouldn't fit in with the faith and all that we talking about right now.
Nah.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like,
It'll mess up your
I'm
ministry
like,
if you say it right now.
You just killed my dad off. You know, and
I understand. I'm messing with you, but I
yeah,
definitely.
yeah. So that was back in 2000, and my dad didn't pass in 2010. So you know, so he just, you know, and I'm like, okay.
And that was
that was the last straw,
enough.
and then finally I was like, you know what, I need to find a lawyer, and I need to go on and proceed and do what I need to do. So it took me about 1.5 years after that to finish up that process. Well, to get it started, but it took 3 years for the divorce to finally become final.
And now you are a single woman.
Single. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah.
And you know, sometimes you have to set yourself free. We can't always count on others to get us there, but we have to have had enough.
Yeah.
We have to get to that breaking point where enough is enough.
Yes.
And you make up your mind, I can't do it anymore. What would you say to a woman who's in your position, who's thinking about this right now, who's contemplating perhaps leaving her husband but walking in fear? What would you say to that woman right now?
To take her life back, to know that she's worth more than what has been given her, that this deck of cards that she's been dealt is not hers, that she needs to reshuffle it and say, you know what, it's time for me to put me first, put myself in God's hand and say, I can do it, because he says you can do all things through me.
And so I have to ask you, what is life for you now? You know, we were talking to Diane a moment ago, and she talked about free falling, when you just let go and let God. And obviously you've done that. So what is life like for you now that you've done that? Life
is so free for me right now. He gave me the butterfly. When he set me free, he gave me the butterfly. So I went through that phase. So I just, you know, it's 3 L's that I live by.
Okay.
I live, I laugh, and I love like it's no tomorrow, with no regrets.
Okay.
Why? Because I don't want to be old in my rocking chair wishing I would have. He set me free. He didn't set me free to be in bondage. So why would I not allow myself to live life to the fullest each and every day, no matter what obstacles that comes my way?
All right.
You know, I've been going and going and going, even through my divorce process. My manager and people on my job never knew because they was like, you always smiling. Why you always happy? Why not? Why do we always have to wear our burdens on our shoulders? Who is it going to help? No one.
Exactly. But hence the concept of the mask. When you talked about peeling the mask off earlier. And these are the masks that women wear when they're going through these different types of abuses. And they mask it. They hide it. And until it has to be revealed sometimes. But you masked it, you hid it, then you revealed it, and now you're set free.
I'm set free.
Thank you so much for being here, Claire.
Thank you for allowing me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I just want to, what would you say to that woman? We said that, didn't we?
Yes.
What you would say to that woman?
We did say that. But I will encourage her to fall in love with herself. Fall in love with you. Because that's the best thing that you can do. When you allow someone, that's the first thing. Love yourself. But forgive yourself for allowing someone to take control of your life. And once you do that, the weight on your shoulder will come off. And you will feel so much lighter than you ever felt before, because you released yourself from what you allow someone to have control over your life.
Couldn't have said it better. I'm enjoying this. You know, and I know you women out there are being blessed by the testimonies, and you're going to be blessed by even more testimonies in just a moment when we come back. So stick around. We'll be back in just a moment.
Sky Trues custom eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames.
Sky Trues! You know, when I started this thing,
All right, welcome back to this edition of the Ferrell Phelps Show with my guest, Nikki Jackson. She's another woman with the Women of Faith Anthology. Welcome to the show, Nikki. Absolutely, absolutely. You have testimonies too, as do the Women of Faith that's in this anthology book. Now, tell me a little bit about your testimony and what you experienced and went through.
Okay, my testimony, actually my experience started at 17, and I just actually recently started speaking out about me being a teenage victim of domestic violence. My parents didn't know, nobody knew except me and my kid's father.
Okay.
It happened when I was 17. It went on for about 3 years, and then finally I moved to Houston, got away from him, moved to Houston to start my life over. Went through a period of transition of trying to get myself back together, learning myself, staying away from men because I was really scared. So that went on for quite some time. And then finally, I said when I turn 30, I want to be married. I want to have this big house. I already had my life planned out. I met this wonderful guy that swept me completely off my feet. We got married really quick. Within, actually, we dated for a little while off and on, and then finally we moved in together. And about 6 months later, we decided to get married. Our wedding was supposed to be 2 years later. We got married that same year.
Okay.
And from there, a year later, it just turned into a nightmare. That nightmare went on for over 10 years.
For over 10 years. Wow. Now, let me ask you this question. You mentioned being 17 and experiencing domestic violence. Are you saying that at the age of 17, you were being physically abused?
Yes.
At the age of 17?
At the age of 17.
So that lets you women know this starts early. It doesn't necessarily have to go into, when you become a married woman or anything like that. At the age of 17, you were physically abused by the man you were living with, was it? Or dating, or how would we call that?
We were actually, I got pregnant when I was 16.
Okay.
My parents sent me out to boarding school right before I had my son. I was shipped back home, and I had my son at home. about 3 months later, I moved out.
Okay.
And we ended up getting an apartment together, and that's when the abuse started.
Began at the age of 17. What was that like for a teenager to have experienced that? And not only a teenager, but a teenage mother having to go through that type of violence?
For me, I was a fighter, so it's a little different because...
Okay. Oh, you hit back.
Right. So it's different. So it wasn't domestic violence to me.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
he hit me, I hit him back. You know, but then it got to the point where his licks got a little harder. It was to the point I was getting drugged outside of a car, that type of violence, you know, and I'm talking about not like hitting, like I'm physically like beating him up, but you know, you hit me, I'm going to come back at you. But then it was to the point where, I mean, I remember one time we had just made groceries and he unloaded everything out those bags onto my body. So that's just how mad he got, angry he got. So, you know, it was a difference. And being 17, hiding, it was already something because I was embarrassed. I had a child at a young age. I hid my pregnancy for a very long time from my parents. And then to be abused, it was like, you know, I'm already living in, you know, shame, nightmare, and all that. So, you know, I hid it very well.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing that I have to say about that is, you said you were a fighter and you fought back. Even if you are a fighter and you fight back, a man should never hit you. You should never have to be in a position where you have to physically fight back. That is not right. And at the first sign of seeing something like that, get the hell out of there. At the first sign. Now, and I do understand that not everybody's strong enough to get out of there. And you're 16, 17, and all that. And we have different life experiences. But if a man put his hand on you in a way that is not loving or affectionate, that ain't the man for you. Bottom line. You know, and like Nikki was saying, you know, sometimes you have to go through these things. And had you not gone through this thing, through this situation, through this circumstance, you wouldn't be able to talk to me today.
That's true.
You wouldn't be able to have that conversation. Now, not all women are fighters.
That's true.
You know, so it's a good thing that you were a fighter. You know, because that might have got him off of you a little bit faster, knowing that you're going to, you know, come at him with a little something too. And then you went from that to a marriage where you were actually in a marriage for 10 years and being physically abused and verbally abused as mentally, emotionally,
financially, sexually, all that. But the difference with the marriage, I wasn't a fighter. Like that Nikki went away. So I was the submissive wife. I was the one that, you told me something, I did it. So it was a difference being a teenager and then now you're married, you know, so you go through those, you know, be submissive to your husband. So I did all that. So, you know, you think about you telling me you love me, but then you hit me and then you come back, you buy me something, or I'll never do it again. So it's a different story when you marry.
Yeah. And, you know, that's a very common story that I've heard with women that have been abused, where the abuser will come back and say, I love you. But to me, love ain't kicking my ass. It's just not. Love is not punching me in the face and kicking me and throwing groceries at me. That's not love. And if somebody is doing that to you, that is not love. That is not love, for somebody to be abusing you and doing those types of things to you. And now, through the experiences that you've had, you developed an organization called LIPS. Tell me a little bit more about LIPS.
LIPS was given birth August 2016. Actually, August 2015, I actually started the process of living in pure silence. And I wanted to speak out so much about domestic violence, but I couldn't find anyone that would want to talk about it. And I'm like, am I the only woman that's went through domestic violence? So I just kind of like, I put it to the side. And then last year, I said I'm gonna kick it off a little early to try to get other women involved. And it was just, it was real small, nothing really big. And so in in May of last year, I said, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to a lot of women, you know, and tell my story and encourage them to start telling their story. You know, because it's a difference when you have a boyfriend and you're in a domestic violence situation, then you get married. So a lot of people say, you know, after 2 years or after the first time he done it, I'll leave. You know, so we're talking about over a decade. We're talking about a very long time of hiding in a marriage that people thought that everything was successful. You know, everything's going. Y'all have everything: the house, the cars. You're traveling around the world, but not a lot of people know this makeup hid a lot of things. You know, a lot of times I hid in my closet crying. I would cry, when I knew he was coming home or when, I was going to bed. So June the 3rd of last year, my youngest daughter actually graduated from high school.
Okay.
And we had a big, huge celebration for her. And June the 7th, I remember June the 6th, I went out of town to teach a class. And June the 7th, about 5 o'clock that morning, my sister called. And she was like, "Nikki, wake up." And I was like, "Girl, what's wrong? It's 5 o'clock. And she said, "I seen Keisha on the news. Have you talked to Keisha?" I said, "I just talked to Keisha." So Keisha's my stepdaughter. I said, "I just talked to Keisha." And she was like, "Keisha was on the news." I said, "Girl, Keisha was on the news." And I went back to sleep. She called back and she said, "Nikki, I need you to wake up. Keisha was on the news." And I was like, "What did they say?" And she said something happened to her. I say, "Well, let me check and I'll call you right back." So I know everything goes on Facebook. These teenagers put everything on Facebook. I couldn't remember her. She has this long name on Facebook. So I went to one of our other family members. I didn't see anything. I went to Keisha Biological Mom's page. I didn't see anything. Then from there, I scrolled down and I went through another family member's page and I seen where her picture was on the news that her kid's father had killed her.
Wow.
I can remember vaguely about what happened. I knew I woke my daughter up. We got to the apartments and I seen lights and ambulance, everything, the whole murder scene. And that actual afternoon, some people came over, Pastor Deck and a few other people came over, and one of the ladies that was there was her godmother. And she was saying, "Well, Keisha's stepmom has an organization." And I was like, no, I didn't want to talk about the organization. I'm like, this is not the time to talk about the organization. But as time went on, it was the time. So that was the time, I guess we could say, the rebirth of Living in Pure Silence, because, not only something I went through, but something that somebody that was very dear to me lost their life.
And it's a difference when you hear about something in the news and you actually live it for yourself. Because it's one thing to see it in the news, because that separates you from the incident. But when it's your stepdaughter or your child, that's a whole different ball game, and it affects you in a totally different way. So I can only imagine what that was like for you to have lived through that experience and have experienced what you had experienced prior to, and to know that it actually took her life out, but you were still here, and that's the beauty of having an experience, when you can share that experience and sow seeds of positivity into other women who are going through it, who may not know how to get out, who may not have the guts to get out, who may not have, they need people like yourself and like the women in the anthology to share their stories, to empower them. And this is about empowerment. These women need to be empowered when they're going through this type of thing. I appreciate you being here. Needless to say, thank you for sharing your story. And I know it's going to bless somebody, Nikki. Thank you so much. And we're going to be back in just a moment, everybody. You guys stick around. There's more Women of Faith coming up in just a moment.
Women invest a lot of valuable time in their stylist chair, creating and maintaining a polished image. Having been in the beauty industry for over 35 years, I have witnessed this investment firsthand.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Jackson and I'm the owner of Interactive Hair Studio. I love doing hair. I love being creative. I love giving someone options.
Through the years, I began to notice how much time was being spent threading needles during the weaving process. In salons everywhere, clients were threading needles for their stylists to save time, instead of relaxing and enjoying the experience.
We had to use towels and sometimes mannequin heads, or oftentimes your own clothes, where you thread a lot of needles and you just have them ready so you can move faster.
I knew that this was not the kind of experience that I wanted to provide for my clients, so I created a better way. The Easy Needle Multi-Threader is designed to make the weave installation process faster and easier, all in 5 simple steps. All you have to do is secure the Easy Needle Multi-Threader to a surface, insert the cushions into the unit, slide the needles into the cushions, place your thread onto the dowel, and thread your needles with the Easy Needle Threader. Stylists who use this product will never have to thread another needle in between weaving again. With the Easy Needle Multi-Threader, they can save time, save money, increase their clientele, and provide a wonderful experience for their clients.
Sky Trues custom eyewear has taken the world by storm. In only 8 months, Sky Trues has gained the eyes of many, including celebs like Big Sean, Little Flip, Destiny's Child, Soulja Boy, just to name a few. Through custom design, Sky Trues can put your imagination on your frames. I bring to you the next big thing in Houston, Sky Trues, created by Golden Boy, the musician, the artist, the entrepreneur, and grassroots marketing genius. Be inspired. Sky Trues, custom designed frames.
Sky Trues. You know when I started.